Hello everyone and welcome to MTG Degree. Today Wizards made an announcement and, before even thinking about the announcements that Wizards makes, it's probably wisest to just take a little drink because almost every single time it's exactly what you're gonna need. So what did Wizards announce? Well, they announced that they were releasing a new format. And, we've seen a few new format ideas in recent years. We've had Tiny Leaders, which was a quick blossom that died almost instantly. Frontier, which I never knew anyone that actually had a Frontier deck. And then now Pauper, right, which is actually getting to be popular, partially because it has a larger push from the YouTube community, and also because the concept behind it is designed for it to be cheap. And, Magic players do not actually love spending huge amounts of money on Magic. They just do it because they love Magic. It's kind of like a girlfriend. So their idea is one called Brawl. And the Brawl format, the first thing that struck me was like, wow, this sounds like a top-tier esport name. But what the Brawl format is it's very similar to Commander. So you have a commander, and your commander is a legendary creature or a planeswalker. Now, if Magic had made the idea of Commander, I think that they would have done exactly that because Planeswalker cards are their marquee thing that they've been big into for forever. So it's Commander, but all Planeswalkers are also legal. It's also only 60 cards. It's still a singleton card deck, so you can only have one copy of any one thing. And then the big thing, okay. Oh, and you have 30 life instead of 40 in Commander or 20 in pretty much every format. So here's the big thing, is it only allows standard cards to be played in this format. Now, I think that this format, if they really wanted it to succeed, they wouldn't just say, here's our idea for a format, go play it. I mean, I don't think that that's going to work. I think if they want to create a new format like this, they have to do stuff like when Commander became popular, they made Commander decks. Now this thing is not yet popular. Maybe they're not going to make decks for it. Some product might be good, or they could send stuff to local game stores and be like, each time someone plays their first game of Brawl, then give them this promo. And then if it's a good promo, everyone will make a crappy Brawl deck, and at least Brawl games will be getting played, and maybe people will discover, ooh, I like this Brawl thing. Now, Wizards has this weird thing that they do when they speak, which is that they try to obfuscate what the truth is. And they do stuff like just tell weird anecdotes. And, I don't like the corporate nonsense. Just tell me the truth. So when they told me this big, long story about how there was some guy that came up to them and was like, guys, I have this great idea for a new format. And then everyone in Wizards started playing this format, and they all fell in love with it. And now they're sharing it with us. That seems like nonsense to me. I'm not buying that. So here's the thing. Only standard cards are legal. I mean, I don't even know if I have to say anything else about that. Standard is what Wizards wants to push more than anything because that is how they make money. That's how they sell packs. New sets come out, those sets are in standard. So if a bunch of people start playing this format because standard is doing pretty poorly recently, lots of bans, hasn't really been all that fun. So because standard has been doing so poorly, they're selling less packs and all that jazz. So they're like, hey, here's a new format that I know you're going to love to play. And it's also standard. This guy just happened to submit this idea to us, which perfectly fits our financial goals. Anyway, I don't want to drag on about that forever. The thing is it could be actually pretty cool, because here's the thing. The idea that would be interesting is that you have a bunch of people that are pretty casual, but they still want to come to FNM, you know, and like play with their buddies or something like that. Just like people come to FNM to play Commander, and I have no understanding why they do that, because you don't get prizes or anything. But anyway, so there's people that might want to come and do like a Brawl little event, right? You know, so maybe you'd have your drafting table and your Brawl table, because nobody's at a standard table because nobody plays it. And so the cool thing about Brawl is if it were to take up and people really started playing Brawl, which just makes me think Super Smash Brothers every time I say it, but if people started playing Brawl, then what would happen is, because it's a singleton format, it has really interesting complications on deck building. So for example, all the energy cards that are super busted in Standard, all of those could be unbanned in Brawl, in my opinion, because it's way less consistent, and yeah, it's just way less consistent, and you have to spread out all that power. So, you know, you have one Long Tusk Cub in a 60-card deck, you don't have 4, you know. If you're gonna like spin the wheel to try to get an Ulamog, well, you've got 1 wheel and 1 Ulamog in that deck instead of 4 and 4, you know what I'm saying? So because of that, it would really change what decks are best. So like, for example, an energy deck just wouldn't be that great. So what I like about the format idea is that it would cause other cards in Standard, other than what's top tier in Standard, would go up in price. And then because the total value of all cards in a set can't exceed the MSRP of the set, because then people would make money by opening booster boxes, and then that would drive the prices back down, you know, economics, that would make it so that Standard would be cheaper, because this other format was sucking value into these cards that wouldn't see play in normal Standard, but are seeing play in Brawl. So that's a really interesting thing, and I think it it helps Wizards economically. It gives players something else to play, and it kind of has a good effect for Spikes who want to play just Standard, and it has a good effect for Brawl players in the sense that they've got this new format, and Standard is sucking card value away from the cards that they want, so their cards are cheaper. But that's all in hypothetical Christmas land. Here is what I really think about Brawl. What I think about Brawl is that the main problem with Brawl is that who it's designed for and what it is designed to achieve are fundamentally incompatible. So one thing that you'll notice about casual formats is there is no rotation. Rotation is a concept that is inherently linked to spiky players. And so you're not going to see people who come to FNM, you know, or go to their local games store like once a month or whatever, keeping up with the rotations of cards and all that nonsense. Casual players don't like to have to rebuild their deck every 4 months or whatever. I mean, they always change how Standard has been rotating recently, so. But whatever the rotation is, they don't want to be changing their rotation all the time. So I think that Brawl just cannot succeed, because the people that it wants to play it fundamentally don't want to do the thing, which is part of the rules. So I think Brawl, if I'm gonna call it out, I'm gonna say Brawl is not gonna make it. Whew. All right. It's a lot of monologuing. Let's have a drink, and then I just want to talk about 2 more quick topics, which were not announced super recently, but pretty recently, so bear with me. So, the first topic that I wanted to talk about was the Magic Story, which pretty much no one reads, as far as I understand. People don't seem to read it that much, but I read it. Why? Because I'm a Magic YouTuber, and so I feel like I have to know what's going on, you know? Plus, I like reading stories. So, stories for the past, few years have been, they kind of read like really ingrained fan fiction, from weird corners of the internet or something, where the kind of fan fiction where it's not just about your 2 favorite characters, but where the person's like, oh, I'm going to write chapter 27 of the 26 chapter book or whatever. So that's always how it's felt. Pretty amateur-y, not really that well written. Some people disagree, okay, and I understand that. But I've never thought that the Magic Story in the last few years was all that special. But now, just like how they had authors write full books for them in the past, they have a full-time author of fantasy books writing the Magic Story now for Dominaria. And I read the first 2 chapters, or whatever you want to call them, sections, and they were awesome. So the Magic Story is great. If you just look up a Magic Story on Google, you'll find it. So I really liked the new direction that they're going with the Magic Story, getting in the real professionals. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the Jace Spellbook, which is, if you didn't know, I didn't cover it when it was first announced. It's basically the new From the Vault thing, and I guess they're going to be based on different planeswalkers and spells that they might cast. So the Jace Spellbook has things like Counterspell and Jace Beleren and Brainstorm and all this kind of thing. And 1 card out of the 20 cards is foil. So if you get a Jace Beleren, well, maybe you lost out. But if you get a foil Brainstorm, hey, you sell that to a Legacy player for a shiny penny. So that's actually really interesting, because it's completely unlike the From the Vaults where every single one was the same. So it's got a little bit more of that lottery ticket thing going on, and that stuff sells product. So that's cool. I don't have anything against it. And I guess what I would say is that for now, I like them. I'm not sure how it's going to go. And please tell me, would you like me to open, let me finish this. Would you like me to open a spellbook on the channel so that you guys can kind of see what it looks like in person before going out and buying this new product? I'd be pretty okay with doing that, because I think that they're going to sell actually at MSRP now. Because before it was all foils and such a small print run. I have a feeling that they're going to do a bigger print run on this, and it's only 1 foil per, so people are probably not just going to bum rush each store for like the 10 of them that they get or whatever. I have a feeling it'll be a lot more ubiquitous. So, yeah, if you want me to open one, let me know. Other than that, I think I've talked about all the rambly things I wanted to talk about today. So, I guess I'll see you next video.